I built 24 side projects in the past 2.5 years. At the beginning, only 25% of my project would make money. Now in the last year, 100% of my side project made money. And for that, I had to fire the developer in my head to become an entrepreneur. Now I only launch products that people use, love, and pay for, so that I can work on any project I like from anywhere in the world without having to worry about paying the bills. So in this video, I'm going to share the 5 developers mistake I made that kept my side project from making money. Mistake number 1, adding a free plan to your product sounds like a good idea, but it's killing your revenue. I used to spend about a year on a habit tracker that had a free plan and a premium plan. The reason for the free plan is that I wanted people to try the product to see if it was a good fit, and eventually, if they like it, they would upgrade to the paid plan. I spent over a year working on it before I sold it last year around October, and I managed to get 140,000 visitors to the website. And back then I had 0 audience, so I was basically working day and night for that. Out of those 140,000 visitors, about 10,000 signed up for the habit tracker, and at the end of the year, I made $6,000 US. Knowing that I spent my entire year working on this, that's a really minimal amount of money. So here is the red pill. Only 3% of free users will upgrade to the premium plan. Let's take an example. Let's say you have a free plan and a $10 per month plan. That means your average user is worth 30 cents to your business. Now let's say that you need about $3,000 per month in order to maintain your lifestyle. That means you will need 10,000 new users every month, or about 75,000 monthly visitors. I don't know how about you, but that sounds like an insane amount of work for a solo entrepreneur, especially if you have a 9-to-5 and you have to handle everything for a startup, from the legal, the customer support, and all that. So why do we keep seeing free plans everywhere on the internet? It's because all those startups are usually VC backed. They have a lot of money so that they can spend hundreds and thousands of US dollars into marketing, so they collect a bunch of user feedback and they can build the next unicorn. But if you're like me, you might want to stay solo and you might have a limited marketing budget, if any, and you cannot afford to spend thousands of US dollars to gather feedbacks. So having a free plan is literally slowing you down in your journey to get profitable. There are 3 alternatives to free plans in case you somehow need to show a part of your product to customers before they purchase. The first one is offering free credits. You basically let your users try your product, but for a very limited usage, just so that they know what the product is about without getting any benefit from it. The second alternative is having a short free trial with a credit card ahead. So ask for the credit card because you want your users to commit. Email isn't a commitment, a credit card is, and make sure your free trial is a short 7-day maximum in order to people to commit. And the third alternative, which is my favorite as a developer, is to take a standalone feature of your app and make it as a free tool. You could see this, for instance, with Ahrefs tool. Their keyword research tool is free, and if you want to dig more into it, you have to purchase their membership. This is also what I do with one of my products called LogoFast. People can generate logos for their startup for free, and if they want to build a startup by coding it, they would have to purchase ShipFast. Building free tools is amazing, especially as a developer, because first you fulfill your developer need of creating things. The second part is a good way for people to try the product without having to sign up and everything. And the third part is good for marketing and building a little audience, because you can launch all those little free tools on Product Hunt, Reddit, Hacker News, get some traffic, and things will happen. You'll learn how to launch, and yeah, overall, I really recommend trying out free tools. Mistake number 2 is the shiny tech syndrome. Every week I would see a tweet about the new Node.js killer, or a YouTube video about the latest design trend and the new UI components library to try out. And just like as a normal developer, I spent a lot of time in the past trying out all those new tools. But as I started to make money, I had less time to try this tool and spend more time with my users sticking to the same tech stack. And guess what happened? I not only ship less bugs because I know exactly the tools I'm using, I was also way more productive, but most importantly, users don't care about the invisible. Users only care about one thing: they want a solution to their problems. And the shape or the color of the buttons you're using don't matter at all to them. If you're a developer and you're looking to make money with your code, all those videos and tweets are pure distraction. These new tools and libraries are like an endless treadmill. Every week there'll be a new trendy one or a new better one that improves the performances, and it never stops. And the only way to be productive is to pick one tech stack and stick to it. If you don't have a tech stack yet, I will link somewhere in the video about the tech stack I'm currently using for all my 24 products. Mistake number 3, subscriptions. that's a little spicy topic. Back in May 2023, I built a landing page generator using AI. People would pay $39, and so that they can type a prompt, my software would generate an entire landing page for them. It was working pretty well. It was making about $100 to $200 per day. I think back then it was my most successful product, and I decided to change and play around with pricing. So I started to charge a $5 per month subscription instead of a $39 one-time payment. As soon as I pushed the change live, all my sales went down, like literally zero for days. I reverted back to the one-time payment thing and things started to pick up again. As a developer or a business owner, I love subscription. It has a sense of passive income and it's helping me predict what's going to happen the next month. But as a user, you probably noticed that we hate subscription. There's some kind of headaches going around. It's because first you have to think about the future. What happens if I don't use the product in 2 weeks? What happens if I forget to cancel the subscription? There is some mental process that's required for people to pay for a subscription that doesn't happen when you charge a one-time payment. And so roughly, selling a $49 one-time payment product is as hard as selling a $9 per month subscription. The second drawback of subscriptions is that users churn all the time. It's not because someone decides to subscribe today for your software that they will be paying in 6 months from now. So unless you have an excellent service, your users will anyway churn. As a business owner, you probably have one-time payments, like a book you pay once and you own it forever. It's pretty pleasurable for a customer, and it's helping you getting your first sales online. And depending on the product you're making, you might have negligible costs of running the service. For instance, the bandwidth is usually negligible. I have 500,000 page views per month on my app and I'm still on the $20 per month Versal plan. So even if the user end up costing 1 cent per month, you're still way beyond profitability for years. And if your service explodes and there are a bunch of users coming up, you can also grandfather your current users, keep them using the product for that one-time payment, and start implementing subscription for new users. If you have some kind of recurring cost, let's say you are doing an AI wrapper around the OpenAI API, then you can try the pay-per-use system. Just like OpenAI, you would make them pay for the usage of your own product. This is really fair for users. There is no much mental energy spent on their side, because if you don't use the product, you don't pay. That's very simple. And I believe this pricing model is going to replace most subscription in a few years. I recommend you to start as simple as you can with a one-time payment or the pay-per-use system. Make $1,000 and then think later if you need to implement subscriptions or not. Mistake number 4, the H1 tag. First impression matters. When you meet someone randomly in the street, how they behave, how they look, what they say will influence every decision you'll make about this person. It's the same with your website. When you're selling a product online, your headline is the first impression. And this is going to be the most influential part on whether people will decide to buy or not your product. In average, a website conversion rate, so visitors to customers, is about 2%. If you're getting started, it's likely going to be more like 1%, even less. So for 100 visitors, you'll get 1 user. That means that most of the people who visit your website will never see your product, but 100% of the people who visit your website will see your headline. So make sure you spend enough time crafting a really excellent headline before launching. Your headline should be short, trigger an emotional reaction, and answer the question of why would a random stranger on the internet give me 1 minute of their very precious time. I wrote a short article about copywriting for landing pages. You can check in the description the link to my newsletter. Mistake number 5, over-engineering. For my first entrepreneurship project, I spent an entire year building a startup. I wanted it to be perfect with a bunch of features, user onboarding, and dozens of screens. By the end of the year, I burned out and I managed to get 0 users and made $0. Actually, that's this little first project right here that you see. We've seen earlier that about 1% of your landing page will convert into paying customers, so most people will never use your product. And to avoid shipping features that people don't need, I recommend you to try the 24 hours startup framework. If you had to create any startup in 24 hours, how it would look like. If we talk about Airbnb, it could be just a single spreadsheet. And if we are remaking Instagram, that could be a public Google Drive. I'm not saying you should ship a sketchy version of your product, but I'm saying that instead of having a big master plan for your startup, start with a very tiny version, the 24 hours version of your startup as a baseline, and start building from there. In my case, I remove a bunch of things from the first version of the product. There are 3 categories. The first one is that I remove anything that's invisible to the customer. So I do not test my code, I do not use Git branches, I ship directly to production, and I do not use TypeScript. And there is a big support button on the website in case if anything goes wrong, but that really doesn't open often. The second part is that I remove everything that doesn't add direct value to the customer. So there is no dark mode, there is no professional logo, there is no reset password form, for instance. And finally, I remove any secondary feature. Customers come to my website because they have one problem, and that problem is usually solved with one feature. Anything that is not about that feature will be removed from the version of my product. The goal here is to launch your product fast so you get real user feedback early and you can build the right features for them and make some money. I have been building tiny startups in public on Twitter with hundreds of other developers, and the 5 mistakes I just shared is usually what sets apart the solo developers who actually end up making money with a side project and those who don't. I hope this video is helpful. If it is, please let me know. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would mean a lot. And if you're one of those developers who overthink their side project, I'm gonna share a link to a video where I shipped a software in 3 days. All right, that was it for this video, and until the next one, I hope you just ship it.